we are watching Putin's actions, right, not his words, and in the process, he's refined a very specific timeline. I'm not going to guess at the nature of what President Trump and Putin might discuss. I do know that President Trump is doing it for a reason, and that is to accomplish an end to bloodshed and massacres. When you think about it, it's something that has to happen. And what the president has said and what has been made clear now in this arrangement is that it cements a partnership, an economic partnership between the United States and Ukraine.
Ukraine minerals deal. I have two questions. May I please get your response to Russian reaction? As you know, Medvedev criticized the president for a deal and called Ukraine, quote unquote, a nation that will soon disappear.
I'm not going to comment on that particular remark. What we do know from this deal and what the president has said and what has been made clear now in this arrangement is that it cements a partnership, an economic partnership between the United States and Ukraine. And it is something that also speaks to the nature of how Ukraine will rebuild after this catastrophe. It is a terrific deal. I think that it is, and again, it's the U.S.-Ukraine Reconstruction Investment Fund, and it involves much more than just the critical minerals. And I think some of the certainly what I think Ukraine understands and what we intend is that this is not just a financial arrangement. This is a bonding between two countries that will make a difference for a nation, certainly in Ukraine's situation where they have a friend, and the rest of the world will notice that when you have a friend like the United States and when we are in business with you and in your nation, it creates a stronger national security for everyone involved. And certainly in this case, when it comes to the profits that are generated, that is then reinvested into Ukraine for the rebuilding dynamic that is going to obviously have to happen. It's a time where, as the secretaries noted just a few days ago, as I mentioned to you, as a matter of fact, on Tuesday, that it's time for both of the nations involved in this conflict to come up with concrete proposals about how this conflict ends. And this relationship now with Ukraine reinforces the commitment of the United States to that nation. It's for the world, it's better off. It also reminds the American people and the world that support of another country can take many forms, and that national security can be reinforced in many different ways. And that's what this arrangement accomplishes.
And on that line, Tammy, the president last week was explicitly clear when he posted out a clear message to Putin saying, Vladimir, stop. Is there any disappointment on your end that Vladimir has not stopped?
Well, this is, again, why the president is the president. The American people wanted Donald Trump in office. He has shown, certainly in his first term, that he is willing and capable of taking the action that's necessary to achieve his goals. He has done more than one would expect on the issue of diplomacy because he truly believes that people can come to a decision here to stop carnage and a meat grinder in that area, and for the world and for the American people to see what that outreach has been and how certain people have responded, which then clearly informs the president and those who work with him, including Secretary Rubio, about the decisions that they need to make. So I think that it's certainly the secretary has been clear that we are watching Putin's actions, right, not his words. And in the process, he's refined a very specific timeline. Weeks ago, it was weeks. A few days ago, it was days, that this would be a pivotal week. And look at that, it has been.
That the recent mineral deal with Ukraine sends a clear message to those who have accused President Trump of being sympathetic to Russia.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of media that goes on when you're dealing with issues of negotiations. The answer, of course, is not to not speak to people. And that was the idea and the theory for the last administration, where Russia wasn't spoken to for at least 3 years. And so even a lot of heat of the idea of speaking to Putin. There was a lot of heat when he went to visit Kim Jong-un. But Secretary Rubio is very similar when it comes to what President Trump's view is that people have to be spoken with, face to face, one-on-one. That diplomacy is about human beings making arrangements, talking about things, finding a common ground. And you really, in all honesty, I know we got used to a lot of non-human contact during COVID, and that is one of the biggest disasters to hit humanity that we can imagine that was enforced on us. So it is now clear that there is a commitment and an understanding of the importance of this kind of diplomacy. So I'm not going to guess at the nature of what President Trump and Putin might discuss. I do know that President Trump is doing it for a reason, and that is to accomplish an end to bloodshed and massacres. When you think about it, it's something that has to happen. That is what has always driven him. And with Ukraine, the same situation. You have the president of that country in your house in the Oval Office. You're supposed to have signed this deal that day when President Zelensky decided that was just not going to happen, I guess. And yet it didn't end the relationship. They meet in Rome. They sit down with each other. And then this happens again. We know this is important to all of us and to those men and the women as well involved in these negotiations. But it is something that is with a goal to solve something. And I don't think we should look at the minerals deal as a statement about Russia, or if you talk to Putin on the phone, it's not a statement about something else. Trump has been very clear about his mission, and that is how we should look at through that lens. All right, yes, Andrea, again.
Just a quick follow-up on that. The president did indicate on his way back from the Vatican that he would consider secondary sanctions if Russia kept bombing.
He did.
Russia has kept bombing, hasn't agreed to the ceasefire, and he's now apparently agreed to secondary sanctions on Iran, on people who do oil business with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
Is he considering secondary sanctions on Russia?
Well, we know, again, that he's stated his willingness to do that, about the nature of, clearly we're not removing any sanctions that currently exist. The president wants, in every action that we've taken as a nation, to do it diplomatically. That he clearly, because of the commitment to it. And yet, he knows also that there's another part of the world, a whole globe, that needs some attention. And the secretary has also made it very clear that while our style will change, the methodology of how we contribute to this will change, in that we will not be the mediators.